Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurs and enthusiasts alike, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, a live edition with your host, the one and only Phil Better, the podcast mogul. Today, we have the honor of welcoming a truly inspiring individual to our virtual studio. He's not only just a businessman, he's a visionary, a family man, a serial entrepreneur whose journey embodies the essence of resilience and passion for creating positive change. Our guest is not only affectionately known as Fritz to those who are close to him, he is a dynamic multipreneur who wears many hats with equal grace. As a devoted husband and father of 4 wonderful girls, he's mastered the art of balancing familial responsibilities with his entrepreneurial endeavors. Together with his wife, Charlotte, he co-founded Exact Zero, a thriving clean living style business that not only promotes healthy and wellness, but also advocates for sustainability in our modern world, which we kind of need. But but that's not all. He's also the creative force behind Podcastify.me, his very own podcasting venture where he shares insight, stories, and strategies to empower fellow podcasters on their journey. And we're going to touch on a big event that he has coming up. But what sets him apart is his profound belief that entrepreneurship is not just about business. It's a profound reflection of one's values, passion, and aspirations. With each endeavor, he dives deeper into the core of his being, discovering new layers of inspiration and motivation to push the boundaries and create impactful businesses that resonate with people's needs. As we delve into today's conversation, we're bound to uncover some invaluable wisdom and insight from a man who understands that true success lies in making a meaningful difference in the lives of other people. So without further ado, please welcome Michael Fritz. Mike, thank you so much for being here.
Man, thank you for having me. I am so glad that I have kicked the imposter syndrome habit in the butt years ago because that was like, holy moly, what are some huge shoes to fill?
I know. I'm a hype man from birth. I just love hyping people up. I take your bio, and then I'm like, I can make this amazingly better, and then I just go ahead. And yeah, so we already got some people watching. We got my good friend Will, who is the host of Stuck in My Mind podcast, amazing podcast. Thank you so much for being here. We got Jeff Rivella, who hosts a lot of different podcasts. One which is one that actually it's kind of like a contest where he brings on 2 podcasters with two guests, judges, and you get to pitch your podcast to them, and they give you some tips and tricks on how to make your podcast better or how it's already awesome. So it's amazing. Jeff does amazing stuff, and he runs Pod Duty, an amazing company that hosts events, virtual and live events. So it's always an amazing thing. And then we got someone else saying good morning. So Mike, now that I've rambled on for like 3 minutes when I shouldn't be rambling on for 3 minutes, this is your show. Mike, how about you give us a quick introduction about who you are and what it is that you like doing?
Sure thing. Well, as you mentioned, you kind of alluded to this. Like, I didn't ever plan to be an entrepreneur, and people ask me, are you what you wanted to be when you grew up? Absolutely not. But I'm loving the journey. I started off my career in IT. Actually, I was a software developer, software tester, automator, and as I started to feel what ended up being a wanderlust of getting out of corporate and started getting into contracting and consulting and just having a little more and more freedom, a little more and more liberty. And I realized I'm going to start a business about this. And so I launched my first business called Arch DevOps in 2015. And I shut it down in 2021, I think, because it was just an albatross around my neck. But from that, out of the ashes, so to speak, it resulted in this company, Podcastify Me. And, I been working alongside my wife, Charlotte, as you mentioned, with Exactly Zero. And it's just amazing. It's like every day I get up and I get to exercise everything that I've learned along the way. Like nothing is wasted. There's like no part of my brain that's like, man, it sure would be nice if coach would put us in the game. It's like everything's getting used, makes me sleep like a log at the end of the day, but it's well worth it. It is so well worth it. And so, I mean, lately I've been telling people If they come to me and they're like, Fritz, you seem to have your head screwed on straight. Like, what's your sage wisdom, your 43-year-old wisdom for people who want to get better at life? I'm like, yo, start a business. Start a business like yesterday. Start 5 of them if you're particularly risk, like you love that sort of stuff. Just go nuts, man. Live life with reckless abandon. If you get scraped knees, so what? You'll heal. And I mean, if I had to go back and give myself advice, I'm like, start sooner.
I love
So
that.
that's about me, man. I'm taking more risk every single day. I'm learning more things about myself. I'm realizing that, yeah, there's aspects of life where you can run with scissors and you'll be just fine. And I'm like, what craziness will we do today? It's fun, man.
I
Monday
love
through
that.
Sunday. Yeah,
I love that. And got to shout out Kathleen from FSF Popcast. She is another one of us watching. And Will was kind enough to let us know that it's Rise and Outshine, the name of name of the podcast that Jeff hosts with fellow podcasters. So thank you very much for that, Will, for helping me with my deluded brain of podcasting. There's so many. But Michael, so you started Podcastify Me, um, with the goal of helping podcasters, and already you have some amazing things of it. You have trading cards of podcasts,
I do.
which I love. I think it's frigging fantastic and genius. How did you come up with that idea?
Well, I've been sitting on the idea of starting a card game company for a couple years. And so, leveraging what I know about software development, I've been able to take like try to model out the game and say, okay, play 10,000 games of this real quick. That doesn't have to be pretty or anything where you got to see the actual cards being played and stuff. It's like, here's a deck, here's the rules, hit the go button and watch and see how playable the game is. How winnable is it? If it's super hard or if it's super easy, people aren't going to want to get it, right? So I kind of tune that and I've got things modeled out, but they're still just kind of sitting there waiting. And so I've had in the back of my mind for a bit cards, trading cards, playing cards, something. And when we started taking a stab at how do we serve the podcasting community at large? Well, I mean, one thing that people are always concerned about is where am I going to find guests? Like, it takes time. It takes time to network. And so one day, just things, I guess the neurons touched each other or something. I don't know how this happens, but I had this idea. What if we take the landing pages that we've been building for people and pipe it into a guest tracking board and then use a card like a trading card on the front end, like the customer facing piece of it, hand them a card and say, I'd love to have you guest on my show. If somebody gives you a physical card that's like bigger than a business card and they're like, holy moly, this is, you get your own trading cards, like what, and they're going to take action. It's not like a business card where they're going to say, cool, toss, and then you never see it again. They're going to keep it as something special. And the idea just happened. And Phil, you probably had this happen before where an idea is just so clear. Wait, hang on. I don't know if that's yours or Steve's. There were two of them here. Okay, that's a good clue. We had a meeting here before, and she left her coffee cup, and she's like, "There's lipstick on this one and not on this one." I'm like,
That's a
I
good
wouldn't have
clue.
thought of that. That is a good clue because the other person was a guy. Um, but you probably had this. You probably had the situation where you have such clarity of vision, clarity of an idea that you're like, I can't not do this. I gotta. It's like your brain's telling you, dude, you gotta do it. And so I'm like, I guess I gotta. So I made my first run. I made 36 cards. I wish I brought the binder with me today. I could have shown the audience, but you'll just have to envision it. It's got
It's a
Phil's.
kind about this thing. It has the logo on it. It's gorgeous. I've
Yeah,
to be fair, I've seen them and they're amazing, and it's so cool because there's the QR code on it, correct? Or is it
yeah. There's a QR code on the back, so whenever people are physically present with the card, they can flip it over and say, "Oh man, I can apply to be on that show." And it's perfect because I don't expect anybody to just sit there and snap the code and then start applying right there. It's like they can just snap, 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 have 7 or 8 tabs open on their phone, and then after the meeting, they're like, "Okay, I got to go apply to all these shows I found before." I just went to a BNI meeting yesterday, and I brought the binder with me, and people were like, "Whoa!" Just flipping through it and stuff. totally jealous. I can't show you, but I mean, it's so colorful. It's like you open it up and it's like this smorgasbord of shows there, and yours is actually one of the ones on the front page. Come to think of it, so it's pretty cool. It
Very
was it was
honored.
random. It was random. I just
Random. I may or may not have slipped in some promo money to him to put me on the
yeah.
first page, but
He Venmoed me a buck. So
but yeah, so you came up with these cards, and you alluded to that it goes to a board, a Trello. It's a Trello board.
mhm,
Giving away secrets here. It's a Trello board, but the simplicity as a podcaster, and I know a lot of podcasters are listening, watching right now. I know Will and Jeff would probably love this podcastify me because it gives you that ease of use to like, oh, this is a guest, I like them, and it just like literally it's you drag and you put accepted or drag and you go no, not accepted, and then emails are handed out by you guys saying
yep.
here's the link or sorry you're not chosen, and then like once it's recorded, once it's scheduled, you got this smooth thing which solves a problem for podcasters. Really is their production sequence, like their system in place. A lot of them don't have something down, or they're using like a database like Excel or Sheets to track their their podcast, and it gets, once you start hitting a lot of episodes, it starts getting a little difficult to keep track of things.
It does.
But
Yep.
I love how simple your system is. Oh, what made you want to use something like Trello or make a system as simplistic as that?
Well, I mean, it's been available for a while. I've been using Trello for years. I'm super happy with it. I've had to develop a lot of skills in the area of project management, organization, time management over the years. So I've come up with some ways to, tactically do automation on it. But that said, I mean, the next version of this, when I get to the point where I can spec this out and have a fully inclusive system, I mean, I'm going to move away from Trello and port people into just an all inclusive thing right there on Podcastify Me because it's good,
Mhm.
but I also don't want to be super reliant on a third party tool, right? So, next stage in the evolution, I want to make sure that we've got complete control over everything. If Trello was like, whoa, you got something, stop doing that. And it's like, well, crap, now everybody is cut short here. So, I want to make sure that doesn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. We're not hitting any limits yet. But yeah, I mean, Trello is fairly popular. It seems like people have been at least familiar with the Kanban style of project management to where, yeah, they've either experienced it before, they've used Monday or ClickUp or Trello or something. If they haven't, though, it's a pretty simple interface. I'm all about usability. It's like just
Mhm.
take the card and drag it to the lane. They're like, oh man, and they had that same realization. They're like, dude, that's really easy. And I'm like, I know, right? So I'm super glad that the different synapses in my brain kind of
Connected.
aligned that day. Yeah, and it's like I'm glad they found each other, man.
Yeah, no,
They're like
it's
they're like, and the ideas
they're
just happen.
stretching across. It's that picture of Michael, the god and the human, just like mere inches away from touching, and then finally everything explodes into beauty. Um,
Yes.
I find it's the simplicity and how you do it with the Trello boards so much easier than the one I was trying to build to organize everything. I was trying to put everything in one, and it wasn't working. It was just horrible. But I love how simple, and like now that I saw yours, I'm like, okay, now how can I bring this into mine? Because I like it, because I not only have your platform bringing me guests, which I love because there's fantastic, you're building it, it's growing, but I also have, like I go to Facebook groups and all that, and I need to have something where they don't go through the Trello boards. Like, how can I connect everything? So I'm trying to connect it to the Podify Me, Podcastify Me, so that it's a little simpler for me and like moving more business to you. But you have an event coming up.
I
That's what I
do.
want to talk about. This is the big thing for my podcasters. Before we jump to that event, though, I do have a question because one of our fans of the show actually had one because they know that you do work. So let me just get that up here. The question. Where's that question? Here we go. Here's the question. All right. from Sammy Kalen Robertson. Cool guest. I love to hear his thoughts on ways to increase efficiency in post production that don't sacrifice voice or authenticity.
Perfect. That is a great question, and it's one I've been asked a lot, so I actually have an answer for it.
Yes.
So as I mentioned before, I was going to say I'm a recovering software engineer, but I still write code. It's like it's still in there. I still use it all the time. I write code on a regular basis. One of the things that is used heavily in the software development space is this principle called DRY, DRY. Don't repeat yourself. Okay. And what that means in the podcasting space is if you're finding yourself doing and redoing the same kind of work again and again, it's time to streamline. So the first thing is identify the places where you are repeating yourself, where you have to do the same thing again and again. And more often than not, what it boils down to is in the editing process, where are you for sure going to have the same thing? You're going to have the same intro, the same outro. Are you going to cut it in the same spot? Are you going to put a mid roll in there? Are you going to fade in, fade out the different segments? Like, what are you going to do? Distill it down into a repeatable process where if you needed to hand this off to somebody, they would have everything boom, 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 step by step. Okay, so you can distill that down. That's true for any part of the process. And I don't know what Sammy's process is, but in the editing, if you're doing the same thing again and again, do it once. Try to find some kind of a tool that will do it for you. Um, and then if you're doing something with repurposing content, there are tools out there that do that to save a lot of time. That still enhance the quality. But it really does come down to just the self awareness and say, okay, where am I spending the most time? And you're gonna have to get real granular. Like, how many minutes does it take you to get through a particular thing? How many hours? How many days, weeks? Like what and when you finally understand that, when you're starting to measure the time, it's like, well, whatever you measure is what improves. When you get a good idea of what that is, then that's when this is where you got to know what to change before you actually start changing stuff. So that's how I would answer that question.
I love it. And I think
Yeah.
Sammy's going to love it as well because it's a very thought out and powerful answer to the situation. So I thank you, Mike, for that. Now let's jump into the Pod 360. This
All
is a
right.
huge event that you're putting on end of March, March 28th and 29th, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
over in St. Louis, where you're going to be
Hmm.
distilling your knowledge of over, I think, close to a decade now of podcasting. You've been,
Man, has it been that long? Hasn't been that long. I've only been doing this since 2019, but there's a lot of other stuff that got slopped in there
yeah. So
as part of it. So we'll say 10.
we'll
Making
say
me sound
10.
old, bro. I've been
Dude,
doing this for 35 years.
I've been podcasting for a decade. I'm old in this game. So don't you saying you're old and you're only from 2019? Like Jesus, I must be a legend in the game at this point. You know, some far off person that people talk about.
He's one of
But
the originals.
yeah, but yeah, the vampire original. But what? Talk to me about this Pod 360. What? How did it come about, and why are you hosting this event?
Well, so one of the things I've noticed over the years of working with lots of coaches, public speakers, authors, podcast hosts is they've all got the same thing in common. And it is eventually they get to the point where they want to impact the lives of more people in the same amount of time. And it seems like coaches in particular, they they start off doing one-to-one coaching and then they're like, okay, I want to do group coaching. I want to do workshops. I want to do retreats, right? It's just the size of the influence grows bigger and bigger. And I'm finding that shoot, I'm going through the same evolution. Funny how that works. I want to impact the lives of a lot more podcasters than I can do on a one-to-one basis, whether I'm, doing a consultation or I'm working with them one-to-one as a client. I want to impact the lives of a lot of people. And also, I tend to have this is going to sound like I'm negging myself and I'm not, but I am super obsessive. I was thinking about this when it comes to learning, I'm super obsessive about things. And I was thinking about this earlier today because I was thinking about when I was going through college for computer science, there was a class I took about graphics programming. So for the huge heavy nerds in the group, I used to code in OpenGL and I was going to make a game and it's going to be great. Everybody's going to love it. And I never did get around to getting it done. Oh well. But I had a class that really sucked, and so I'm like, I don't like this class, but I got to pass it because it's part of my curriculum. So I'll just do whatever it takes to get a C in the class, so I don't have to take it again. But I'm gonna go down rat holes and just learn all kinds of things. And I developed like modeling programs and 3D design generators and stuff like that. I could do, yeah, we'll do the matrix map and all that, boring crap. But I'm
Mike, your mic just went out. No, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Maybe it's me. Okay, you muted yourself. So it's not me. Hold on, private chat. Technical difficulties. You gotta love that. Yes, it is ironic that Mike Fritz's mic is on the Fritz. Take your time, Mike. Oh, I thought I heard something. Can you hear me now? Ooh. That's the joy of live podcasting. Sometimes technical difficulties do happen. Glad to know that it's not my mic.
Oh, wait, I hear you.
Wait, you hear me? I hear you.
I think that means, that always happened back in my QA days. Things would just start working, and I didn't know why. That always rigs me up.
It's the computer. It's working now.
It's working.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait, you can't hear me now?
No, I can hear you. Sorry, I thought
Okay.
I thought it died.
Dude, you scared me. You're giving me
I
like
scared
a
myself.
micro heart attack. Okay, so where did it cut off? Because I was in the middle of rambling about something.
Hold on. You were building
Sorry,
models.
folks. I was building. Yeah. So that's where I was.
Yeah, let's start from building models and doing the matrix later because
Got
of
it.
school.
So it was. So I was figuring out like, okay, what's the bare minimum I can do to pass this class, and then go over here and do some fun stuff. So I ended up getting through the boring matrix math, blah blahs, and just saying I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole as deep as I can go and learn what I can learn. And it took me on an amazing journey. And I realized, I think it was probably one of the first realizations that I'm like, oh, that's my personality type. That's just what my brain does. And so when I started going down the podcasting path, I started doing the same thing. I've written all kinds of pieces of software that help automate and cut out teasers and things and just make micro content. And I'm meeting all kinds of cool people, and I'm getting exposed to different methodologies and ways of life. I've met all kinds of neat people. I've met magic mushroom people. I've met, tribal leaders. I've met, people with multiple personalities. I've seen it in the spiritual realm. And that's just on the mindfulness side of things. I've met so many people in the podcasting space. Oh my goodness, it's nuts. And it's like, I'm not even worried about how deep the rabbit hole goes. It's bottomless. Like, just go and see what else there is, right? So the 2-day workshop is basically everything that I've learned about podcasting to date, along with hooks to be like, oh shoot, I forgot. I could channel my inner Columbo. Oh, I just one more thing, and I can keep nurturing people and teaching them as I go. But I mean, the intent is it's going to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, but that's okay because we're going to work together and put all of our plans of action into a workbook that once you're done with the event, once you're back home and you're like, oh, I can finally decompress and I can think, and you're not going to be like, oh shoot, what was I going to do? It's in the workbook. The plan's in the workbook. So it's going to be amazing. And I've been telling people, like, I know I'm putting on I'm not fronting. I'm genuinely excited, but this is the second hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. The first hardest thing is, of course, being a father of 4 girls. There's a lot of estrogen in the house, man. This is
I
why this is why I come to Panera's. I got to get away and hang around like some guys once in a while. That's why I'm here. But this is the second hardest thing I've ever done in my life. So I would love, love, love for this to just blow up. I want to influence the lives of as many podcast hosts, current or aspiring, as possible. Teach them everything I know, and I want to learn from them too, because it's not a one-way thing. I love hanging around people and networking and just deeply learning about them and their background. And it's going to be great. It's
I
going to be
I
great.
I think it's a great, like, I'm looking forward to this event. I know we talked, I think, a few days ago about, because you were looking like, how do I get it to a virtual event? And we were talking about how it can help expand it from just being an in-person to a virtual event. And
Yeah.
just that was a great conversation. Hearing some of the stuff that you were going to share
Yeah.
um,
Oh,
was
on that,
amazing.
I got something. I figured something out. So there's I did stop by my friend's place. He does not have a mixing board, but I was at a BNI meeting yesterday, and there's a lady here in St. Louis. Her name is Paige, and she and her husband have a company called WeQuip. And I'm like, I need to talk with her about this. And she said, yeah. She's like, there's one guy in particular. Like, what they do, they basically it's kind of like Uber, but for Facebook Marketplace, right? So
Oh,
you want to sell something, but they're like, okay, people have things, they're not going to sell it, but they'll rent it to you. So if you've got a kayak that's in your garage and you're like, I'm not using this thing this year, rent it out, for a couple days or a weekend or whatever, make some money, monetize it, they'll give it back when they're done. She's like, we got one guy here in St. Louis that actually has a lot of sound equipment, he can probably hook you up. I'm like, so I'm super glad, right? Things are just
I
coming
love it.
together, man. This is how I know I'm on the right track. It's almost like I feel God saying, "Go, Fritz, go, go, push, push, push,
And, God's one step ahead. The door's open. Just go. The,
just go,
the
go."
door's open. Just go. He's directing the path for you. He's like, the doors are open. Just walk.
That's right.
Um,
And I'm sitting there like a cat being indecisive. Well, I wish he'd open some doors. And when he finally does, I just stand there and look at him. Get
what are you doing?
over,
Why did you open this door? I didn't want this door open. I wanted that door open.
that one.
Uh,
Pick a thing. Yeah.
but so this is pretty much distilling the last few years of not only podcasting but also your whole business acumen in this, and to share how podcasters can take it to the next level. Obviously, it's to move people to use your platform as well, because it's a simplified version of all our systems. Like, guys, go over to podcastifyme.com. All right, no, it's podcastify.me, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, podcastify.me. Visit the site, sign up, become, like, use it for your landing page, for guests to come on, because it makes life so much simpler. It's a one-stop place. You don't have to go to, matchmaker, all these things. You just give them your landing page and go, this is where you go, and it's all there, and you just drag and drop. Plus, you got the event. You get connected to this man. You can go to podcastifyevents.com. Make sure you go check out that. Check out the landing page. Check out everything that's going to be there. You've connected with the hotel for prices as well, correct?
Yep. And they have a room block available. It's gonna elapse at on March 7th. So March 7th is going to be the last day they have the block available. We have 10 rooms, but I mean, there's also Airbnb if you're coming in from out of town. There's all kinds of places around here. St. Louis is a wonderful place.
Yeah, you
So
got
it's a
the
wonderful place
art, you
to
got
stay.
everything.
Got everything you'd ever want. And it's not nearly as shooty as everybody thinks it is. It's a good city. It's a good
It's a
city.
good
We're not
level of
like,
shootingness.
It is. It's just, but the shootiness is over there. It's not every city has a place like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're not like right in downtown. Like we're not in the heart of downtown St. Louis. I wanted to have it be a little bit far away. Like it's 15 minutes away from the major airport. In St. Louis is Lambert Airport. 15 minutes away from that. So yeah, we're good. It's a nice, quiet-ish place. You'll love it.
A
My
great
friend.
place for people to connect, learn about other podcasts, learn about how to monetize, how to grow, how to simplify, if you will, the
Mhm.
podcast, because that's something that you're really you've distilled down to a masterful art. I have to say. Um, Mike, I'm going to jump off here. I'm going to give you the last little bit to let my audience know everything they need to know, how they can connect with you, how they can learn more about you, anything you want to share with them. The floor is yours, sir.
Oh man, that is such a big request. I wish I'd thought of something. Well, anyway, the main thing that I want to share is the direction that podcasting is going these days. I really feel like is a direct result of COVID. You know, people have been a lot more open to share and be vulnerable and to really build deep relationships. And I found that podcasting it's not magic, but it almost enables people to build those relationships even faster. And I have, in fact, closed business as a direct result of having people on my show. So if you think about it, if you're talking with a complete stranger for 30 minutes about something that they're passionate about, you're giving them a platform to share. Your hearts are being knit together a little bit more. It's probably worth like 3 or 4 cold phone calls or emails, right? You can get to that level a lot faster. So even if you're not trying to start a podcast for a business, think about it because it's a great, powerful tool in your toolbox. You can't go wrong, and you get something that's going to last for years to come. So that's what I got. And totally, you should come to the event. That's the main thing.
Yeah, this whole live stream was specifically about the Pod 360 event that Michael's putting on in St. Louis. It's an incredible event. It's a brand new event that's going on. Hopefully, it's going to be going for years to come. So make sure you go check out. Like I said, the website. It's on the screen right now. Events.com. It will be in the show notes down below. I'll be posting about it because I'm excited to hear about this event and how it goes off, Mike. I can't thank you enough for connecting with me and becoming a friend of the podcast and a friend of mine, Mike. I look forward to establishing an amazing relationship for this, both business and friendship.
Yeah, bromance is the word you're looking for.
Thank you. I'm looking for
Yep.
this bromance to grow. To my audience, make sure you check out the notes. Mike, thank you again for being here. And I look forward to hearing all about how awesome the event is. Ladies and gentlemen, always remember to invest in yourself.